What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the last week. We upload the Scale News every Tuesday. If you enjoy these, make sure to hit the like button before you go and subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. This week, we've got a bunch of big topics, so we better jump into it. We'll kick off this week with a couple of new releases from Proline, and the first one is new Big Bore Proline scale shocks. This will run alongside of Proline's other options for scale shocks that have a slightly smaller and possibly considered a more scale diameter. These a little bit larger diameter, and that is going to be for increased dampening. This will mostly benefit people who want to run with a little bit of speed or just in general like a little bit more fluid control for their shocks. This is being released in the most popular 90mm length at this point, but if it's anything like the Pro specs, maybe we'll see other sizes follow. However, the original Proline scaler shocks that were the smaller diameter, those I don't believe we ever saw in additional lengths. So kind of a 50-50 chance at this point. But if you're interested in these, of course, I'll link them in the description below. The next release from Proline isn't something that is supposed to directly pertain to the scale world, but it's a new Jeep Gladiator release that's specifically listed for, the monster truck size. However, looking at this body and proportions, just in the quick video that I saw at this point at least, looks like this one may have some better possible proportions compared to the one that we saw specifically for our 12.3-inch wheelbase trail trucks. That's probably not the case, but keeping an eye out for this, just because a lot of us have used monster truck specific bodies in the past to create really nice looking trail trucks. They've had Chevy C10s, a lot of the original bodies that we used to make scale trucks out of, like the HPI Jeep Rubicon, and several of those, the Bronco that they had, those were all for monster trucks. So just because it says that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't be a good fit for what we're trying to do. And I'm sure I'm missing other popular body options that we use that were supposed to be for monster trucks. And if you can remember any of those, you can drop them in the comments. It's going to be one of those options that I'm going to have to see in the local hobby shop first. But as soon as I see it, I'm definitely going to pick that thing up and start looking at it and seeing how it compares to our typical trail rigs. But don't rule this one out. So let's change speeds and talk about the new release from Associated, which is the DR10 drag car. Don't know why it took any of the manufacturers this long to come up with an option based on popular platforms that they already had running. This one, very similar to the DB10 that I used all Associated parts to convert based on a list of parts that Associated suggested to me. So obviously they obviously knew what they were doing. They were hard into this. But this thing's got their own tires, their own wheels, their own body, which is called the React or the Rect. I'm not really sure exactly which way they went with that one. But it's got kind of a Mopar-ish Dodge Dart style look. I don't know. I'm sure that the opinions vary on the styling of this thing. It does have a wheelie bar right out of the box. It's got a 3300 kV brushless motor. I don't think this thing's necessarily going to just go out and all out dominate no prep races, with guys running, 3.5 and 4.5 turn motors, but you're going to have fun, and it's already set up. Everything's there. It's in the box. It does have a gyro in it out of the box, which isn't technically allowed in a lot of the, drag racing clubs or whatever you want to call it. But that's, it's a ready to run radio. You can swap it out if you're like a lot of us, or if you're just out there having fun, great. It's going to, help you stay straighter. Overall, this project just looks super well done with some vintage style wheels on there. Again, their own tires, which will be interesting to see how they stack up against the J Concepts Hotties and the Proline Reacts or the Hoosiers that they have. It's just a lot of options are popping up. Obviously, RC drag racing's been around for a long time, but popularity of it never seems to have really taken off. Even when Traxxas jumped into it with the funny car, it didn't really take off. Maybe it just wasn't the platform that people wanted. It looks like the no prep stuff is, going to be a area of the market, at least at this point, that is not going away. So if you've thought about jumping in like I did for so long, this could be a great time. Maybe you held out just that little bit longer than I did, and now you can just go pick up that box stock ready to run car and start from there. Just super exciting to see this. Next, we got a release of some capper parts from Vanquish products. We've got a set of chromoly stub shafts, which are an item that has been seen to bend on the capper. And then we also have a set of rear axle shafts that add an additional bearing in the rear axle on the inside of those rear portal gears to add some support to that gear. At this point, that gear had just been kind of floating on the one side. It was only supported by the inside of the shaft all the way in at the ring gear. And it's not necessarily like a bearing style concentric fit there. It has the slot in the locker, which that shaft has a little bit of play for. So it seems like that's definitely a spot that should have had a bearing. Now you can add this, it comes with the additional bearing, drop it in your Capra, add some additional support to that upper portal gear, hopefully make things live a little bit longer. These are the first of some of the Capra parts that will be coming from Vanquish products, and you'll see more of those as release gets closer and closer. A new teaser today from Kyosho looks clearly like the teaser for a trail truck. Looks like this thing's going to be debuted in a couple of days at the Nuremberg Toy Fair in Germany. It says 2 days coming soon, but this thing just clearly looks like I'm sure I'm gonna say the first gen Toyota 4Runner. You can see the glimpse of a clearly Toyota hood, and you can see the two-tone top with the cab, and then where the top would change colors with the high windows. Also looks like it was filmed at Corona Del Mar down in SoCal, the place that I've crawled a number of times before and is a popular crawl spot. It was definitely a dark teaser. What you're gonna be seeing whatever you're gonna be seeing on this side of the screen isn't darkened by me. It's just the dark preview that they put out there for us. So it'll be interesting to see what this is, what platform or how new everything we see is going to be. Will it have portals? Will it not have portals? Will it have 4.75 inch tall tires? Will it have 3.8 inch tires? So many opinions going on out there. And of course I have all of my own as well. But speaking of tire sizes, there were some really interesting discussions that always happen on the internet this last week. And one of my favorites that I saw was the discussion of tire heights and just tire size options. Obviously, it seems like the most options are available in the taller sizes. And a lot of people are asking, where are the small sizes? Why aren't trucks coming with those? And it's just always an interesting thing to hear people's points of view in the area that they focus on in the market, and maybe you don't see the other areas. So I'd like to throw that out there to you guys. What is your ideal tire size? Regardless of body, say what you're gonna find a body that fits your tire size. Maybe backwards to how most of us work with a certain build or not. But is it 4.75, 4.65? That's kind of normally, honestly, where I usually find what I really like. But not that I wouldn't like to see some more 4.25, 4.3 options as well. So put your ideal tire size in the comments below. Switching gears a little bit, last week, Matt Carney announced that he was leaving Horizon. Now, if you don't know who Matt Carney is, you absolutely should. Matt Carney was one of the co-founders of Axial Racing. He, before that, worked for HPI, and he's been a huge part of this side of the hobby. If you're watching this show, there's a really good chance that you own or have owned a vehicle designed by Matt Carney. Matt started at HPI in the graphic design department, actually, and then he transitioned over to designing parts and option parts and vehicles. He started by designing some Savage and MT4 wheels, tires, and option parts. He was solely responsible for the design of the Nitro MT2 and worked with another designer on the Hellfire Truggy. After leaving HPI, he co-founded Axial. Now, Axial started up by making some nitro motors and some wheels and tires and bodies for monster trucks, but during that time, they were working on and tooling up the first car that Matt designed at Axial, which was the AX-10 Scorpion. The AX-10 Scorpion is definitely one of those, milestone vehicles in our area of RC. There wasn't an RC crawling vehicle made at the time that vehicle came out. Before that, we were out there hand fabricating things out of TXTs, TLTs, and Clodbusters, maybe some X Factors here and there. But then Axial Racing produced Matt's design of the AX-10 Scorpion. Just a huge leap for us. Anybody who owned a set of the Rock Lizards knows exactly what I'm talking about. But if you didn't, when you got those tires or you got your first AX-10 Scorpion kit and you opened that box, you needed to take those tires out and set them outside for 2 days. The smell was awful. But the AX-10 Scorpion that followed the release of those tires initially was groundbreaking for us. That really launched Axial and kind of launched RC crawling up a tier, making it an area people could come into and buy an option and then go have fun. After Matt's design of the AX10 Scorpion, followed the SCX10. Yet another release into the market that just set another bar to build on for years and years and years. While the Tamiya Bruiser had been out for a lot of years already at that point, it wasn't something that really fit into the market of that day. It wasn't really a direct comparison to the time and to what the market was. The SCX10, I think you can really say, made its mark on the industry. Following the release of the SCX10 was the Axial Wraith. Groundbreaking platform in a lot of ways, offering a scale style cage and a full depth interior with seats and a whole new style of axle, a one piece with a diff cover, just an axle that we still see on production cars today. After the design of the Wraith, Matt designed the Yeti XL, and helped follow that up with the release of the SCX10 II. And while the SCX10 II retained the same actual C-channel part of the truck, pretty much everything else in that vehicle was new. Once again, offering something completely new to the market with that small pumpkin, hypoid, high pinion axle gear. After the SCX10 II, we had an adaptation between the SCX10 II project and his 2.2 Wraith with the 1.9 Wraith. Yet again, a great car, one that I'm a big fan of. And the most recent design by Matt was the Axial Capra. So while Matt is leaving the RC industry, the things that he designed and that are out there are going to be around and have influences for years. I can't imagine the actual number of those trucks that are out there and how many people have owned one of those projects that Matt designed. And even though he left last week, we could be seeing releases that he was a part of for the next 6 to 12 months. I knew Matt through the internet and RC Crawler for years, of course, but actually met him personally 10 years ago, January of 2010, when I came out for a West Coast qualifier back in the comp crawling days. I'll say that I've had years of enjoyment from products that Matt designed. I'm sad to see him go from the RC industry, but of course, wish him the best of luck in his next endeavors. If you ever owned any of those vehicles that Matt designed, wish him the best as well. This year, I've made it a goal of mine to try and sit down with some people in kind of a long form format and have some discussions about their, positions in RC or how RC has, is part of their lives as well. Like I did with John Holmes when he was here in studio in December. Hopefully at some point when Matt and I are near each other, I can talk him into doing something like that. But at the same time, it's a shame that maybe people didn't understand how much influence he had until now that we're talking about it, that he's leaving the industry. So hopefully we can also grab some of the other people or friends that I've known in the industry or in the business, and we can sit down and talk about it. I think a lot of us really enjoy this industry. And of course, it'd just be nice to learn more. Even the people that I know, I'm sure there's a ton of stuff about what they've done or things they've done or how things have transpired that I have no idea about. So we'll see how that goes throughout the year, and we'll see how many people I can wrangle into sitting down for a while. But with that, that's where we're going to call this week's Scale News Update. I'm sure this is going to be a longer one than normal. Hopefully most of you guys made it through it. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of the week. Again, thanks for watching. Hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.